Hello class, welcome back to Music Appreciation. In this lecture video, we're going to be talking about our second element of music, which is rhythm and meter. So first let's talk a little bit about what that word rhythm actually means. I'm sure many of us have used that word in various contexts. So the way that we can actually define rhythm is just the movement of music in time. And you might say that sounds a little bit confusing. So an easier way to think about rhythm is just the duration of notes. And by duration, I mean how long each pitch is sustained. You'll notice that in music, some pitches are sustained for longer periods of time than other periods of time. For example, I'm going to play for us the melody again to Joy to the World. And let's really pay attention this time just to how long each note is sustained for. And again, we'll notice they all have varying lengths to them. So some of those notes there, I really exaggerated how short or how long they were held for. So some of them have short rhythms and some of them have long rhythms. So that's what a rhythm is. So again, we're just thinking about how long a pitch is sustained for. So our next word here is the word beat. Now, with the word beat, there's a big misconception about what it actually means. People today commonly say they really enjoy the beat of a song. So when we're talking academically, the way that we're going to define the word beat is just the steady underlying pulse in music. And I always tell my students the best way to find the beat of a song is to figure out where you would tap your foot. That's kind of always a giveaway of where the beat actually is. So a beat should be just the steady underlying pulse. So it might sound something like this. Right? It's just that consistent, steady pulse. So notice it's not very exciting, is it? The misconception here is that the rhythm is actually the exciting part of the song, and the beat is just that steady underlying pulse. So I'm going to play for us a melody here, and I'm going to have us try to tap our feet with where we're feeling the beat. Okay? So let's try this now. So again, let's try to figure out where the beat is. So for me, I was kind of feeling the beat like, kind of like right here. That's where I was tapping my foot with, okay? So that would be the steady underlying pulse. So if this were a face-to-face class, I would ask you all to clap where you found that beat, and probably nobody would clap because that would be the rhythm, right? So the beat is just that steady underlying pulse. So that's how the beat versus the rhythm works. And again, that's where our biggest misconception comes in here. All right, so our third term that kind of goes along with these first two is the term tempo. So tempo is fairly simple here. Tempo just means the rate of speed in music. So how fast or how slow the beat is traveling. So these three words, rhythm, beats, and tempo, all kind of work together. So now let's talk a little bit about what that term meter means. So the way that we can define meter is just the grouping of accented and unaccented beats. So when I say the word accented beat here, what I mean is a beat that sounds a little bit louder, or it sounds stronger, or more emphasis is placed on it. Whereas with an unaccented beat, it just sounds a little bit weaker. We don't have that emphasis on it. So think strong beat, weak beat, strong beat, weak beat, strong beat, weak beat. So that would be a meter right there, or just strong, weak, strong, weak, strong, weak. So these meters are always divided by measures. And typically, we're going to see that the meters, we always count to a certain number, and every time we get to 1, that's when we come to a brand new measure. So also, the beat 1 is always going to be referred to as the downbeat in music. So the downbeat is always going to be the first beat of every measure, and it's always going to have that accent or that emphasis placed on it. So that's going to make more sense once we learn a couple of our metrical patterns here. So the 3 metrical patterns that we're going to be using for this course are duple meters, triple meters, and quadruple meters. So if we have a duple meter in music, it just means we have 2 beats in every measure, or the meter has 2 beats. So with duple meter, we always have a strong beat being alternated with a weaker beat. So it's like 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So pretty easy to feel. So if we have a triple meter, that now means we have 3 beats in every measure. And notice here that my downbeat, or the first beat of every measure, is going to be the accented beat, or it's the beat that I put the emphasis on. So counting a triple meter would sound like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So we're feeling again that accent comes in on the downbeat or on beat 1. So then finally we have a quadruple meter. So the quadruple meter now just has 4 beats in every measure. And for the purpose of this class, we're going to kind of be using duple meter interchangeably with quadruple meter, because essentially they sound the same. With the quadruple meter, we also put an accent on the 3rd beat. So it becomes 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm now going to be playing for us a couple melodies, and I'm going to see if we can figure out which of these metrical patterns these melodies are in. So the way to do this is, first of all, try to tap your foot with where you hear the beats. And then once you've found the beat, try to find where that accented beat is, or again, figure out where the emphasized beat is. And from there, that emphasized or accented beat is going to be beat 1. See if you can count to beats 2, 3, or 4 until the next accented beat comes in. All right, so here's the first one. Okay, so that one was a triple meter. So I'm feeling it like this. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and so on and so forth. So that would be a duple meter. All right, let's try one more here. What would our meter be for this song? Okay, so going back to that meow meow mix that we heard in our first video. So that song would be in either a duple meter or a quadruple meter, because again, those are going to kind of be used interchangeably. So the duple meter feels like this: 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. But you could also feel it like 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And notice those kind of have a similar feeling to them. All right, so again, those are going to be the only 3 metrical patterns that we're going to be using for the entire course. All right, so let's move on here to our next term. We have just 3 more terms here. Next, we have this term syncopation. And in music, syncopation just means we have a deliberate upsetting of the normal pattern of accents. So again, that's kind of a more complex definition. An easier way to think about that is it's just when we're shifting the accents somewhere off the beat. So again, we're kind of expecting that the first beat of every measure is going to have that accent. So if we're using syncopation, it means the accents are falling somewhere else. most of the time they're falling between the beat. So let's say I'm going to count with my mouth a duple meter, and I'm going to be clapping some syncopation. It might sound like 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So since I'm clapping somewhere between beats 2 and beats 1, you kind of have this deliberate upsetting of the normal pattern of accents. So that's an easy way to think about syncopation. Some of you might have heard the ragtime piece by Scott Joplin called The Maple Leaf Rag. That's another really good example of syncopation. So our next term here is the term polyrhythm. So since the word poly means many, if we have a polyrhythm, it just means we have many rhythms, or we have multiple meters occurring simultaneously. So the best way to kind of visualize a polyrhythm is to imagine that we have two groups of people clapping. One group is clapping in a duple meter, while the other group is simultaneously clapping in a triple meter. This creates a really complex and rhythmic sound that we call a polyrhythm. And that's really common in a lot of 20th century music, as well as African music, and as well as jazz music. All right, so our final term is the term non-metric. And just like this sounds, if we have a non-metric piece, it means the music is moving without any strong sense of beat or meter. So old Gregorian chant pieces from the Middle Ages use a non-metric meter. The intro of songs like Whitney Houston's I Will Always Love You, that would be a non-metric intro. Basically, if you find yourself unable to tap your foot or unable to find the beats, the song is probably non-metric. So it just kind of sounds like it's free-flowing. It works really well with just a solo vocalist. So that's our non-metric music. So that's going to conclude our second video talking about the element of music, rhythm and meter. And in our next video, we're going to be talking about the third element of music being harmony. So I will see you all then.